Every single person who lands on your website, they're part of a story told in clicks, in scrolls, and in how long they stick around. But here's the big question. Are you actually reading it? Well, today we're going to demystify one of the most powerful storytelling tools out there for any website owner, Google Analytics.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Do you really know what's going on when someone visits your site? Sure, you might see the traffic numbers go up or down, but can you actually pinpoint why? For a lot of people, it kind of feels like navigating in the dark. Well, we're about to flip on the lights. Okay, so before we dive into all the cool stuff, let's just start with the big picture. What even is web analytics? So at its absolute core, web analytics is just the process of collecting, measuring, and analyzing your website's data. And the whole point? The entire goal is to understand how real people, actual humans, behave once they get to your site. This is how we finally start to answer that big why question. And look, this is why it matters so much. We're not talking about just a bunch of abstract numbers on a screen. We're talking about real insight. You can finally see which blog posts are a huge hit and which ones are, well, not so much. You can literally pinpoint the exact spot where people get stuck and leave before buying. Ultimately, analytics lets you stop guessing and start making smart, data-backed decisions. So you might be wondering, how in the world does Google get all this information? It's not magic, I promise. It's actually a really clever piece of tech. So let's pull back the curtain and see how all this tracking really works. Okay, so it really all comes down to one thing: a small, totally invisible piece of JavaScript code. This little snippet gets placed on every single page of your website. I like to think of it as a tiny digital detective, just quietly observing everything that's going on. So here's the play-by-play of how that data gets from a random click all the way to your report. Step 1, someone visits your site. That instantly triggers that little bit of JavaScript code. Then, step 2, the code places a small, anonymous data file, you've heard of these, a cookie, on their browser. That cookie then sends information about their visit, what pages they looked at, back to Google's giant servers. Google takes all that raw data, processes it, and then bam, organizes it into the nice, clean reports that you see in your dashboard. All right, now to read the story your data is trying to tell you, you kind of have to learn its language. And luckily, it's a pretty simple language. It really just comes down to two key concepts you're going to see in every single report: dimensions and metrics.
Seriously, almost everything in Google Analytics is about these two things. Think of it like this. Dimensions describe your data. They're the who, the what, or the where. So a dimension could be something like country. Pretty simple, right? Then you have metrics. Metrics measure the data. They're the how many or how much. So a metric would be number of users. You're always looking at a metric, like the number of users, through the lens of a dimension, like where they're from. See how they work together? Okay, so we know what analytics is, we know how it works, and we've learned the basic language. Now it's time for the really good part. Let's explore the key chapters in your website story. These are the main reports you'll be using all the time.
So chapter 1 in our story answers the most basic, but maybe most important question of all. Who are the people visiting your site? And to find that out, we're going to open up the audience report. This audience report is amazing. It gives you a snapshot of your users, things like their general age and gender or where they live, right down to the city. But it also gives you cool tech details, like are they on an iPhone or a laptop? All of this helps you build a really clear picture of who you're actually talking to. Okay, so now we know who they are, but how do they even find you? How do they get to your website in the first place? Well, that's the big question that the acquisition report is designed to answer. This report is awesome because it breaks down all your traffic by where it came from. You can see how many people found you through a Google search, or from that Facebook ad you're running, or from a link on another blog. This is absolutely crucial for figuring out if your marketing is actually working and what's driving real traffic to your site. All right, so we know who they are and how they got here. Now for the juicy part, the action-packed chapter of the story. What did they actually do once they were on your site? For that, my friends, we open the behavior report. Okay, this report is where you see what content is a total home run. You can see your most popular pages, find out how long people are actually sticking around to read them, and see the path they take through your site. But it also shines a big spotlight on problems, things like slow page loading speeds or a high bounce rate. That's just a fancy term for when someone visits one page and then leaves immediately. This report is basically your treasure map for making your website better. And now we've reached the climax of our story. Your visitors came, they looked around, they clicked a few things, but did they do the one thing you really wanted them to do? This is the million-dollar question, and it's answered by the conversion report. So, a conversion is just any action that you decide is valuable. It could be someone filling out a contact form, downloading a PDF, or, of course, buying something. This report goes beyond just looking at traffic and shows you the actual outcomes. You can track your conversion rate, what percentage of visitors are taking that action. And if you have an online store, you can see the hard numbers, transactions, and total revenue. This is the report that connects all that website activity directly to your business goals. So after going through all these different reports, we finally get to the whole point of this, the ultimate purpose of gathering all this data. Because look, it's not just about knowing things, it's about doing things with what you know. And this quote from the Digital Marketing Institute just nails it. It says that a fundamental benefit is making informed, data-led decisions to drive better performance. The whole point of analytics isn't to just hoard data, it's to use it. It's about that massive shift from guessing what might work to knowing what does, and then having the confidence to make your next move based on real evidence. So there you have it. Your website data is constantly telling a story. It's a story about your audience, a story about your marketing, and a story about how your business is actually doing. There's really only one question left. Are you ready to listen? And a huge thank you to the Digital Marketing Institute for providing the fantastic source material for this explainer. All right, now it's your turn. Go out there and start reading your website story. Thanks for joining me.